Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Rafaela and I'm here today with another video. So we've got a special guest today. We've got Prince, not Charming, the one and only, but he's here in the flesh. I'm so annoying. He's here in the flesh next to me. It's lovely to have you on the channel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So for anyone who doesn't know, please introduce yourself. So who is Prince? What do you do? What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yeah. So my name is Prince, as you know. And in my 9 to 5, I'm a senior business development specialist in the medtech sector in sales. And outside of work, what do I like to do? I DJ, I run events, I like to travel, love to travel. I like to play sports, go gym, try different things out with my friends, like jiu-jitsu, badminton, boxing, basketball, just all around, adrenaline junkie. I think I went snowboarding in Switzerland. Yeah. In March, late March, and that's me.
I love that. I have so many questions. I'm really excited for this chat because I'm like, sir, how do you have time to do all this? On top of having a job, having a side business. But anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit. So thank you for being on the channel. I appreciate that. I'm really, really looking forward to this chat. But I guess I wanted to just ease us into the video today by first asking you, what is your most irrational office ache?
Okay. I don't think it's irrational. I think it's very rational. However,
that sounds very biased.
Yeah, no, it's it's very biased. But I hate people that like to play victims at work. Just own it. If you did something wrong or things aren't working out, just own it. I think there's been certain circumstances I've seen at work where people get dragged under the bus or they just can't sort of take the rap themselves because they did something wrong. Like, just own it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you messed up, be accountable. Things don't work out, that's fine. You're human. Like,
exactly.
The worst they can do is fire you. Obviously,
that's pretty bad.
I know, but like, come on, like, especially in sales, you can literally just go to another job.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's so real. I think working makes you realize like we're actually all adults, but some of the stuff that happens is wild.
You'd think the thing is, you'd think that when you go into the corporate world that everyone's a bit prim and proper.
Yeah.
It's literally like you're back in college and sixth form. I promise you. The stuff that happens within the working environments, like, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, to be fair, that wasn't actually that irrational, I will say. But next question, what's an unusual fact about you?
Okay, so an unusual fact about me is that I've broken both my feet playing basketball at separate times. Yeah, and then obviously both times I actually took myself to the hospital, got a boot, and just nursed myself back to health.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as it sounds, but it was just long because like I was waiting for an MRI scan and all that and a third.
I forgot we're in the UK.
Yeah, it was very, very long waiting time. But outside of that, it was pretty fine, to be fair.
Also, question: you said you took yourself to the hospital.
Yeah, so just Uber, and then the first time it was before I went uni. I feel like I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
After I landed, because basically I was pushed both times. So after I landed, I knew something was wrong. So then I like hopped my way to the bus stop.
Wow.
Because obviously I couldn't drive at the time. I was like 17.
Yeah.
Hopped my way to the bus stop. Went to the hospital. Sat there. Did all the checks. Got the scans. They told me what happened, and then I took myself back home in crutches and a boot.
That's wild.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna be a typical African auntie and say, so what did you learn?
not to play too much.
Yeah.
Not to play too much. Yeah.
Wow.
It happens. To be fair, I realize that like whenever I'm doing sports, I feel like people have to try a lot harder to achieve maybe what I'm achieving. Yeah. So I've just learned to sort of tone things down unless I'm competing. Yeah. So at least I don't get injured as well.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds so painful. Yeah. But okay, cool. Right, so we're gonna dive into your early career now, and I guess let's rewind a little bit. So I remember when we sat down at the Change Catalyst and obviously had breakfast a few months ago, you had shared your academic trajectory, and as serious as it was, I think there's certain things that obviously you touched upon that
Yeah.
just seemed really funny to me because I was like, how did this happen? Um, but you're where you're at today. So it's funny, but it's also really inspiring. And so I just wanted to ask for the benefit of the viewers,
Yeah.
like, would you mind sharing what you studied at uni and then how you got into your
All right.
industry?
Cool.
And please don't withhold any
No, it's fine. It's
details.
fine. I'll be very honest. So at uni, I did biomed twice. First university I went to Coventry, and essentially I got in through clearing for
Okay.
foundation course.
Okay.
Right, my A levels did terribly, but I didn't want to repeat the year. I didn't want to
Right.
stay in sixth form,
Right.
so I thought, okay, cool, uni straight. Got into Coventry now. Um, got into biomed. Did great first year, second year. Now because I did a foundation course, technically the second year I was in my first year, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Then the third year I was in biomed, I was in my second year.
Okay.
Now that's where things started to get a little bit skewed. I became president of my basketball team. I had a girlfriend. I was
Now you
living
blaming
the
the
life.
girlfriend.
No, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. I was living the
Man.
life I thought I wanted to live, I tried to start a clothing brand, like I was just doing everything.
Right.
But then in doing everything all at once, essentially I'm achieving nothing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
what happened was essentially I did all my modules. I think I failed like one or two,
Mhm.
but because I failed them, I technically had to resit them again.
Okay.
But then there was one module which I couldn't really resit, but it was very irrelevant to the course, and I left it to the last minute. Now, one of my friends now, he was a year ahead, and what did I think about doing? Bro, you did your thing already. Let me have a look at yours. Let me get some inspiration so I can sort of,
Not the inspiration.
emulate. Obviously, now I spent all night doing it, but in essence, all I'm essentially doing is just copying it, but then trying to rephrase the wordings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it in, came back, disgusting, disgusting. I think you have to get below like 20%, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just a low percentage, right?
Yeah,
So
you
you don't
do.
get in trouble.
What did you get?
Shit was like 45. It was yeah, no, terrible. So yeah, obviously got in trouble for plagiarism. They gave me a chance, but by the time I got back my results and then also got back the verdict, it
Mhm.
was too late for me to appeal anything.
Okay.
So I think during the summer now, I'm going to the library thinking, okay, cool, I've handled the worst that could happen. Let me go to the library. Let me start preparing myself for Thursday. Let me start preparing myself for the retakes. Log into my Moodle. Can't log in. I'm like, something's wrong here.
Mhm.
Log into my Moodle again. Can't log in. I called the admin office asking for advice. They're basically like, you're not a student at this university. We can't actually help you. I'm like, oh. And it's like, why? You failed this, you did this, you did da 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 da. And I was like, oh, can't you put me on another course? Isn't there something you could do for me? They were like, nope, you're not a student. We're not actually eligible to actually give you any sort of advice or help you at all. I was like, wow.
Wow.
I know. Literally, I would think I was in the middle of like a dual carriageway, waiting to cross the road, and I was thinking to myself, is this a sign from God or something?
Please.
No, not to jump into the road.
Okay.
Yeah, no. But I was just sort of thinking to myself, is this a sign from God? Is it God telling me to drop out of uni? Is he saying that? Because obviously I had these thoughts as well that like I'm not really a studious person.
Right.
Things click for me,
Yeah.
but I don't actually like the process of studying or revising or taking exams.
Oh my gosh, same.
If that makes sense. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I love learning.
Yeah.
I love applying the things that I've learned,
Absolutely.
like physically, practically, but to take a
The
test on it,
process. Yeah,
the process of it,
Yeah.
like even for things like philosophy, I love philosophy when I was doing AS, and I did great at it. But for the most part, whenever it came to doing tests or mock tests, I'd be terrible at it.
Right.
However, whenever we'd had discussions and we'd maybe have like in lessons and stuff, the teachers would love me because I'd be able to sort of express or at least just navigate the questions and just what was required of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously when that happened, I went back to my friends, told my friends what happened. Obviously they were boys, so obviously they consoled me and stuff. And then that was the summer. Essentially just that summer was the summer where I was just misbehaving and I never went home. So I didn't
I
tell
was
my
about to
parents.
say,
Yeah,
what did your mom say?
no. So
Now you misbehaving.
I never went home. I literally just got a job.
Okay.
I got a job throughout the summer. Stayed in Coventry for like the year, and then that's where now come to September.
Yeah.
Obviously, the realization hits that like, okay, cool. So I don't have uni anymore, and I don't have anything to actually say I'm doing.
Yeah.
To my parents.
Yeah.
So now, what do? Do I go back home, talk to them about what's going on, or do I stay in Coventry, get a job, stay here for the year, see what goes on? Decided to do the latter, against my better judgment, obviously. So I got a job in sales. This also happened whilst I fractured my foot. So the second
Oh
fracture
my
happened
goodness.
around that time. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was basically taking crutches to work. I was Ubering to work.
Oh.
Ubering to work, like Monday to Friday, because obviously those days you're in the office every day. Ubering to work, got a job in that sort of place. Was there for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Did really well. Got a job in, I forgot the name of the company, but I know what I used to sell. So I used to sell for a company called Domestic and General.
Okay.
And essentially, you know, your household
Yeah.
appliances. Now we would sell warranty on those appliances.
Okay.
So your washing machine, your cooker, your oven, your fridge, we would sell like a bulk warranty for that.
Okay.
To customers.
Okay.
And then every time like a customer will call up, ask for a repair, have an issue with what's going on with their appliance, I would basically help them through that, but then also upsell their warranty and then get them to basically get more on their warranty. Thinking about it now, it does sound like a bad thing to do, but it sells, so I had to make my money somehow.
Yeah.
Did really great there. Didn't really like the working environment just because of the way the managers were and just the type of people that I was surrounded by. It's Coventry, and depending on what area in Coventry you're in, you're really around people that just don't look like they have any sort of ambition of life. Because I'm working with people that are in their 40s.
Yeah.
And like I'm still like 21, 22.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't seem
it's
like
not the same.
Yeah, things are aligning. And then obviously those days, smoke breaks. I hate people that go on smoke breaks. They'll be going like every 20 minutes. They're downstairs having a smoke break for 10 minutes. I don't smoke. So whenever I want to go toilet, they're watching the time to see that, oh, this guy's been in toilet for 3 minutes. Why is he not at his desk?
Oh.
Meanwhile, people go smoke breaks for 20 minutes at a time and blah, blah, blah. So I hated all that stuff. Left there, went to another company for 6 months, and that was sort of a bigger step up.
Okay.
Better money, better environment. I'm selling, it was with First Utility.
Okay.
And they're essentially a heating company.
Okay.
And they essentially sell to houses.
Yeah.
And then, whereas now you might move into a place, I would basically make sure to keep ownership of that property.
Okay.
Through heating, essentially. Rather than you switch into maybe, I don't know, British Gas, one other provider, I would convince you to stay with us and then just change your tariff a little bit and then obviously keep you happy. Okay. So I did that for 6 months, loved that job, loved the management, loved the people in there. But by that time, I'd have come home and I've spoken to my mum. And the reaction which I expected her to give me when I told her about what was going on wasn't what I expected, which kind of sort of like warmed my heart in a way.
Okay.
And then it kind of then made me sort of just come back to home and then just sort of work through whatever was going on. And then because of that, I left that job, went back to uni.
Yeah.
That's where I went to Greenwich.
Yeah.
That's where I then completed my degree. I went straight back into second year, did second year, third year, completed my degree, and then back on the job market again. And then now those round about that time, getting a job was pretty hard. It's hard now, but for some reason it was also hard then.
Yeah.
One of my friends let me know that her friend, who's now a manager in a real estate company, is looking for someone to join in the sales department. Right. And I'm like, yo, I'm your man. Went to the interview, they loved me, got the job. When looking back at it, there was a lot of shady things that happened around that role, but I was happy to be employed.
Yeah.
Did that for a year and 3 months. Then I went from that into recruitment. My first recruitment role. That role taught me a lot in regards to like sort of how to make sure to negotiate for what you're being paid, because whatever offer they're giving you, you're giving someone else that offer as well. But they're giving someone else even better. Even better offer, sorry. negotiate what you're paying for, how to manage your managers, because a lot of the times, how because they manage you doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't manage them as well. So like, teach them how to manage you.
Yeah.
Teach them how to sort of handle you. Otherwise, they'll just treat you anyhow.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't stand for any sort of nonsense when it came to the way they sort of spoke to me or dealt with me in certain scenarios. Did all right at that. Wasn't the best, but before I decided to leave, I made sure to close at least one deal.
Okay.
Because in that role, I was doing 360 recruitment,
Okay.
which meant that essentially I'm providing a service to the client, but also getting the employee into the role, essentially. So then I'm finding the people to actually do the job, and then also getting the jobs from the client, and then doing the whole 360 process so that the company can basically benefit. Did that, left that to then become a resourcer. So basically I went from doing 360 to 180 in another recruitment company. And then that was again in tech, because I was doing data centers with recruitment. But then in the other company, I was working with companies like Fujitsu, for example.
Okay.
But when looking at the team, I realized that other teams are basically paying my team's salary, because what we charged our client wasn't enough to actually sustain the business that was going on.
Okay.
And then I just knew that at a point, people in my team will be made redundant.
Okay.
Because I saw that, I was like, I need to get out of here ASAP, because the commission I'm making, how hard I'm working, what I'm getting paid, doesn't make sense for all that's going on. So left that company after 6 months as well. And then that's when I got into tech.
Yeah.
And then I started in recruitment tech. So I just sort of stayed in that sort of
within the
realm of recruitment tech. Got into tech, did great at that job. Again, managing your managers and managing expectations. After a year and 3 months of work, I expected to be treated a certain way. I wasn't, so I left. But then now I'm at my current role, which is actually great. Loving it. And I'm in the medtech sector. I manage the whole of IMEA. I feel like I'm actually making a bit of a difference.
Oh, that's good. I love that. So we'll come back to you saying you enjoy your role. Because I have a few comments about that. But it sounds like you had like such a roller coaster of like an early career. First of all, shout out to Mumsy, because obviously that's always good to have that support. I also feel like I really resonated with what you said about like managing your managers, and even negotiation, because those are two of the things that I'm learning now. Like being a little bit further into my career that I wish I had known like before, of course. But off the back of everything you said, I did want to ask, how important do you think formal education is today in your industry compared to hands-on experience or networking? Because obviously you touched about quite a bit, and obviously how diverse your experience was as well. But yeah, just kind of wanted to know.
So I'm 50-50 on this, right? Because to do what I do, you don't necessarily need a degree. However, it's assisted me that I do have a biomed degree to do the role I'm doing, because a life sciences degree and obviously the sales background sort of just merged together to help me in my field. However, if you were just to go into sales in general, you wouldn't need a degree. I believe degrees are great for occupations like being a lawyer, being a doctor, I don't know, going into physics, and then you want to make, I don't know, work with NASA. Like, those are great. However, if you're trying to get into sales, if you're trying to get into business, hands-on experience is always going to be looked upon a lot more highly than just your degree, just because at least you've shown that you have the tools to do what's necessary in the role, in comparison to someone that's just been reading and doing tests on it. Does that make sense? Like, we have this at work, where people that do masters will come in, but they won't be great salesmen because they're book smart, but they're not like like you can't apply what you've actually learned, because you just think in a certain way, if that makes sense. People forget that you're dealing with humans, so it's not necessarily about what you know, it's how well you can sort of convey value to your message you're sort of trying to get across.
Okay, that's real. So I feel like that's definitely a challenge that I had. Very much so. Academic background, etc., but then you're trying to break into like the labor force, and then they're asking you for that hands-on experience, and it was a lot, honestly. But okay, cool. And then I guess my other question would be, so it seems like you've learned a lot as well from everything that you've done, but what's one thing that you learn outside the classroom that turned out to be like most valuable to you?
I think I think being able to relate to people and being able to sort of communicate with people,
Right.
because a lot of the jobs that I've had in the past, separate from just like my professional career, I've had like little side jobs.
Yeah.
Like I've done security, I've been in hospitality,
Okay.
I've worked at a bar. Like I've done all these little different roles that have
Yeah.
required me to sort of deal with people, like from a face-to-face perspective or even just over the phone. And I think being personable gets you a lot further
Yeah.
than just having the qualification or just having the experience.
Yeah.
Because if they don't like you, they'll never hire you anyway.
Yeah.
And I've never really had to go against. I never really felt like I've had to sort of deal with, I don't know, any sort of pushback when entering a role or joining a company, just because I have the skills to be a bit more personable with people,
Exactly.
to be a bit more likable, just to even not fit in. Because, for example, I don't like football. I don't watch football. I don't support any football teams. The most I see is on Twitter and all these different other places. I care about basketball. I care about UFC, boxing, all these different random sports that are more cared for in America, for example. But because I don't like football, that doesn't necessarily stop me from still being able to be personable with the colleagues at work. If that makes sense. Or like work drinks. Like when people want to watch just football, I'm not going to stop them from watching football. Obviously, I know enough about the sport and the rules, but you ask me what team do I support,
That's wild.
Useless.
I would have never thought. Wow, you
Yeah.
didn't give me that impression. Interesting. But you know what? That's so interesting because I saw a post on Instagram today, and it was talking about like people with the people who are going to be the most successful in life have either all or the majority of like 5 traits that were identified. And I think the 5th one was the ability to socialize and interact with people. And interestingly, people were then listing the things that they've got. And about 80% of the comment section had, I don't know how to socialize. When it comes to socialize and interact with people, I can't do it. And I was like, that's so well, because as you said, it's such a core skill to be able to like adapt, to be able to relate to people around you, even like clients or whoever else.
Literally.
Even when you think about like in my role, for example, when you think about policies and strategies, like being able to relate and bring in diverse like perspectives is so important. A lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Think.
Okay, cool. So
sorry, also as well, active listening. Like, because active listening can actually help keep the person engaged in what's going on. So like if, I don't know, your colleague tells you, oh, like over the weekend I took my daughters out for whatever. Then next week you could be like, oh yeah, you mentioned you did this with your daughters. Did this happen as well? And then they'll just go into storytelling and then tell you whatever. But just by that happening,
exactly,
they automatically love you. And they automatically can tell, oh my gosh, this person's listening to me.
And actually caring.
And actually cares, exactly. So
I think that's something that my manager, well, he's moved on now, but he said that. So from the first meeting when I started, he like got me a coffee, and obviously I drink coconut milk. So then he remembered that random fact, and I was like, wow, this is someone who cares. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you judging me?
Yeah, I am judging you.
Coming from the person who doesn't watch football.
Hey, listen, I think people can get past
What's
the
wrong
football.
with coconut milk?
I don't know. Coconut water, coconut anything.
No, I don't really like coconut water.
Okay.
I like coconut milk. Try it. Do you like coffee?
No, I don't drink coffee, to be fair.
Oh.
I don't drink coffee. I don't take energy drinks. Yeah. I think I'm already way too
Cut the interview. Cut the interview.
I'm way too energetic to.
Fair enough. Yeah, with all the, well, I was about to say with all the sports that you do, but then in the same breath, like, aren't you tired? No. And you probably don't get 8 hours of sleep a night.
How can you?
Do you?
No.
If you did, I'd be shocked.
No, I. So, for example, even like today, I went to the gym earlier today because obviously, like,
I saw your first.
Yeah, but normally I'm in the gym at like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Wild.
And then after gym, go home, shower, sleep, wake up.
What time do you wake up?
6:37.
Okay.
And then go about my business. But yeah, no. I think I've just been used to not sleeping a lot.
Yeah.
And still being able to sort of navigate, just because like if I'm doing security and then I might have like a back-to-back shift.
Yeah.
I'm not really sleeping much because I still have to wake up and then get to the next shift as well.
Exactly.
So.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can't even put you onto like a really good coffee drink.
No, I don't
Never mind.
don't
Not
like
even like
coffee.
a cheeky frappuccino.
No, I like iced coffee maybe.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can put
that's
you on.
fine. Yeah, but
Yeah,
on a normal day, I wouldn't really
with
normally.
coconut milk.
Uh, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. Yeah,
Yeah,
I won't
I'll
knock it till I
put you
try
on.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you'll like it.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Starbucks. Can't be from.
Starbucks. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Fair enough.
Okay, cool. Let's see what we can make happen. But anyways, right. So now we're gonna dive into your current career.
Hmm.
So obviously, you said you enjoy your
Yeah.
job. I do follow you on Instagram. I see the posts. I thought I was a serial, elevator selfie queen. But sir, you take the cake because you're always in front of that lift mirror taking a selfie, carrying food. I'm like, hello, what's going on?
You know what it is? I think one is because I feel like I always try to look the part when I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I might not necessarily look professional, but I will look good.
Wait,
It's two
let's
different.
unpack.
No, because I might wear like I think last week it was sunny and I was wearing like a ribbed shirt,
Yeah.
and obviously it was light blue, ribbed shirt, clean, nice shoes, trousers. Obviously, when you go into the office, normally you see guys in like a long sleeve shirt, buttoned up, long like thick collar, or even like maybe like a turtleneck or something like that.
Your face looks absolutely disgusted
Yeah,
as
because
you
it's boring.
described it.
Not because it's boring. Like I can dress like that. I can wear stuff like that. But
I
I
like it. I like a
usually,
turtleneck.
I know I like a turtleneck as well. But I would like to like keep those sort of styles of dress for the winter.
Yeah,
If that makes
yeah,
sense, when
yeah,
you're a
yeah, yeah.
bit
When it's
colder,
hot, yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
can sort of layer up. You can look a bit
Mm,
more like nice. I get that. But then in the summer, I get too hot, so I'm just gonna dress nice. I think one of my colleagues said to me once that you always look like you're on holiday, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I dress like I
I
should
mean,
be
you
on
also
holiday.
are always on a holiday.
That too, that too.
I'm
But
joking. Just wanted to throw that
yeah, no,
there.
it's okay. It's okay. Like, but genuinely, I feel like wearing clothes like that, and then sort of taking the pictures in front of the mirror and stuff,
Yeah,
making a cheeky joke,
yeah,
kind of just sort of sets the mood for the day for myself
yeah.
and everybody else as well that's on social. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I actually want to come back to that later because then I feel like I guess your creativity comes out also in
yeah,
then how you dress, etc. But yeah, no, all to say your job looks really fun.
yeah, yeah.
So I kind of want to know what your day to day looks
Okay.
like.
So day to day in the office, it is pretty mundane. Like the role itself is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Come in, I check my calendar, I check my emails. Uh, if I have any meetings that I need to attend, maybe like at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I jump on those. Otherwise, what I'd end up doing is sort of scheduling my time.
Mm,
So I'll have periods where I need to reach out to clients
yeah.
to book more meetings or to sort of follow up on any NDAs or sort of just processes, just the sales processes in general.
Right.
Then let's say, for example, comes to lunch, me and my colleagues all decide to go get food, or I might bring in food because I generally normally cook food beforehand.
Okay.
And then have an hour 20 minutes, because if I don't have any meetings straight after lunch, I just extend it anyway.
An hour. Sorry, I even missed that. An hour and 20.
Yeah, because like
Wow.
the thing is with my role is that if you work hard enough and you're able to sort of manage your time,
Right.
you can also, extend your lunch period as well.
Okay.
Because who's going to sort of check for you if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
hitting your
yeah.
targets and you're
Yeah.
doing the best you can do. So yeah, an hour 20. I think last week my colleagues went to play golf during lunch.
That sounds so fun.
Like literally, I think once I went to the sauna during lunch. Like
Seriously.
yeah, like legit. It's just the nature of a role. Obviously, when I'm
Love
doing
that.
these things, I'm also like achieving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Otherwise,
of
like
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people
Don't
look
take
at
the
me.
mic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then after lunch, more meetings. Just sort of checking emails again, and then a bit more outreach, and then home time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, what I'm hearing from it is like work hard, play hard.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
That's literally what sales is anyway. Because like a lot of the people that I know that are in sales, they would work extremely hard and then play extremely hard as well.
Love
Yeah.
that. It's all about balance.
Yeah, all about balance indeed. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about your job?
Um, I don't think people know what I actually do anyway. Because obviously,
Mm,
like a lot of the time, I think back in the day, I know I used to spend a lot of my time on social media
right,
whilst working. Like I'd post like I have like I'm not working.
right.
But I think I've sort of taken myself away from being on my phone a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
But I think biggest misconception is that it's easy,
yeah.
maybe, or that people are mean. Because obviously people think
Mm,
of sales, and there's two sides to it. People think of sales, and then they think of like the car salesman or like the door-to-door salesman that's like trying to sell you something that's a bit shady. Or I think there's a show called White Gold. Maybe I forgot the name of it, but it's on Netflix, right? Or it
okay,
used to be on Netflix. I think it was like a limited series, and it was basically about like a window salesman, and
okay.
they're going door to door, but they
Yeah.
were actually what they would actually do is, for example, they'll sell you new windows, but they'll take out your old windows and then put your old windows back in. I know, I know, it's a scam, but that's what they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that's the perception that people have of salesmen.
Right.
Meanwhile, like sales itself isn't really you being like, why don't you buy this? This can do this for you. Da, da,
Yeah.
da, da. That's not what it's like at all.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's consultative. A lot of the time you're actually coming to people with things that are actually of relevance.
Yeah.
And vice versa, depending on what industry you're in, the people that you're reaching out to are also human. So they're actually
Mm,
also nice people as well.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I've gotten the odd swear words on the phone. I've gotten the odd like people just hanging up, people being petty, people being childish.
Yeah.
But then you also get nice
The
people.
nice
You get
people.
people that are actually interested in what you're talking about, people that actually realize they need what you're
Mm,
selling. Yeah, I think that's the general misconception. It's just the characters or or the personas involved in the whole sales process. A lot of the time, people are nice people and people are
mm.
normal as well.
Okay, cool. Right. Now we're going to talk about what you also do on the side.
Okay, cool.
Because as
Yeah,
much as doing, the sales,
yeah,
you're also a DJ. That's
yeah,
what you said. So I kind of wanted us to talk about that a little bit.
yeah. Sure.
So I guess my first question is, like, would you mind sharing how you got into that?
Okay, cool. So with DJing initially, I started doing events first.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I started doing events first, and then when I started my events company, it's called ATM. I started with my friends. We just wanted to sort of we did a lot of gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of get-togethers, but we thought let's actually try and make this into something a bit bigger, get a bigger space, sort of
Yeah.
run it a bit more like holistically. And then I thought to myself, because at the time, one of my friends, she used to do photography,
Mm-hmm.
but as girls are, if someone
Eh?
else is doing something similar to them, they tend to see it as competition rather than like, you
Do
know,
do men not do that too?
not really. If my boys
Okay.
decide to DJ, I'll even teach them or help them. Whereas sometimes like girls will be like, I think what happened to the whole thing, that whole influencer that was saying, was it Common Now, Chloe Common Now, because basically another girl was copying her outfit. Meanwhile, you're an influencer, so
Yeah.
she's
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
copy you. Exactly. Um, but yeah, at the time I thought, you know what, I don't need the headache.
Yeah.
And also because what's always required at an event is music.
Absolutely.
So DJ is always going to be needed, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a wedding, whether it's a restaurant booking, birthday, whether it's, I don't know, um, an engagement party, whether it's a baby shower, you always need music. So it makes more sense for me to be a DJ and
Yeah.
then align that with my events.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, got into DJing through that. That was the
Okay.
reason why.
Cool. I love how like you're really like forward slash fast thinking. Um, and always thinking about like the next thing and how things relate. But then I guess I wanted to know then how did you learn the craft?
Okay,
Were
so
you self taught? Did you learn through mentors or watching videos or trial and error?
yeah, so the way I learned the craft is the same way I've tried every other business idea that I've had.
How many business ideas have you had?
Listen, I've tried a lot of things.
Really?
Yeah, I've tried to run a marketing agency,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then I ended up sort of pivoting in how I ran that, and then I didn't like how it was going, so I stopped doing that as well. What else did I try to do in the past? I can't think off the top of my head, but I know I've tried. I know I've tried a few different things. Like, I
Yeah.
think I tried to sell watches at one point, but I never even got to the point of selling them because, like, the money you need to start up to do
Okay.
that,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
But
Surprised you haven't tried to sell start a perfume line.
you know what? I love ouds and I love perfumes and stuff, but I think the effort required to do individual, I think that's probably what. So
Mm.
even with DJing, right? Let me just answer the question first, sorry, because
Yeah.
I was gonna go off on a tangent, but basically, YouTube,
Okay.
YouTube and people.
Yeah.
I had like a whole plethora of like people around me that are in the music industry,
Okay.
and they all have different sort of experiences with music.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to DJing, because I knew, okay, at the time I was working with Roller Vibes, which is another event company. I was just
Okay.
sort of helping out
Yeah.
the events and stuff. And I knew one of the DJs, one of the guys that run the event, and he was a DJ, and I just asked him for advice, and he just gave me advice, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
And then based off that advice, I decided to go and get my first secondhand deck, DDJ 400, practice on that, and yeah, like YouTube, asking questions, and then
Yeah.
just basically just putting myself in an environment where people can listen to me DJ and then see the reaction I got and see how people sort of enjoyed or didn't enjoy me playing
Really?
music.
What
Yeah,
was the reaction when they didn't enjoy?
I mean, it wasn't really obvious because for the most part, I think people tend to always enjoy how
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
DJ, but
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it's just maybe the
sorry.
no, because obviously there's times where you can tell I know I've messed up when I'm
Yeah, yeah,
DJing,
yeah.
but it's whether they can tell you've messed up.
Okay.
And a lot of the time, it's like when you see other DJs and you see other people do like a lot of fancy things, you actually forget that you're meant to be DJing for the crowd. So if the crowd's enjoying it and it's
Mm.
simple,
Mm.
like don't mess with the
Don't.
formula.
Yeah.
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 And I just learned through that. Yeah.
Okay, that's so cool. Okay, and then how do you stay inspired and push your creativity, especially in such a fast-moving music landscape?
Okay, so I never knew how much I actually loved or enjoyed music
Mm-hmm.
till I started DJing
Okay.
because I think it's when like I come across so many different things on social media now
Yeah.
that like sort of keeps me interested and engaged with what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think even for example, like right now, the next step I can see myself sort of navigating is producing music
Okay.
alongside also still DJing the music
Yeah.
because there's a couple artists that I follow that I'm like, you know what, this would be great to do. This would be great to sort of, this would be a great space to be in. Um, I see myself sort of maybe, like Jules,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Jules will tour. He would obviously he's now doing events, but for the most part he'll tour. He'll sort of demonstrate his music, demonstrate what he's produced, the different songs he's made with different artists. There's another DJ called James Hype. He will literally make music and then perform it live in a stadium full of thousands of people. Like
Mm.
there's plenty of other DJs that sort of now have started adding production into their DJ sets,
Right.
which I feel like would be the next step for me to sort of creatively explore. So yeah, like I think it's just essentially just staying clued up, really.
Yeah.
Staying clued up, and so I don't look at other people like competition, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense, because we're all
Mm-hmm.
different. And
Exactly.
there's people that have been in the game for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I started in 2021, I think.
Okay.
So
Oh,
like I haven't been doing it for that
recent. Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
exactly in
Yeah.
comparison to someone that's been doing it through uni.
Yeah.
Like had I been doing it in uni, then hey, maybe I'd be a bit
Exactly.
different. But life isn't like that. So
Exactly.
I'm just enjoying the journey.
I love
Yeah.
that. And I love, like, obviously it's like, even it's a humble thing, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, to
Yeah.
recognize, okay, this is my lane, I'm staying in my
Yeah.
lane, I can learn from other people,
Yeah.
take whatever on, and then
Yeah.
try new stuff as well. I think
Literally.
that's really
And
impressive.
then like even I think one of my friends, DJ Ems, she's producing things as
Oh,
well
I
now.
think,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
like she's producing things now as one. She's great at, for example, mixing songs together.
Yeah.
Like producing songs, but sort of remixing them and putting them together.
Right.
But now she's actually like producing songs.
Okay.
Which obviously you can tell that that's the way the industry's going. Because obviously that's how you're going to end up sort of getting your name out there a lot more. And even from that, again, it's inspiring me to get in the lab and start producing my own songs as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. I really love the fact that honestly, like you are, like you're not confined to things, if that makes sense. Like you just try new stuff, and then I admire people like that because I'm a creature of habit and routine and safety.
I think if things are working, great, but then at a point you will have to grow.
Yeah.
And then you have to you outgrow your space.
Yeah.
And that requires you to do something new.
Exactly.
And otherwise if you do the same thing and you don't, you end up sort of shrinking.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely it's not the same thing. It's more like it's been tried, tested,
fairs.
It's worked.
Yeah, but then it can only work for so long.
Yeah. That's why I need to be around people like you, where I'm like, let me get inspired and try a little bit
of risk. Yeah,
yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyways, what is your best advice for managing a full-time career, managing entrepreneurship, whilst also being present for your family, your friends, your close like support system, and committing to your hobbies? Like obviously you've explained you go to the gym, you do all these things. What would be your best advice?
For starters, just do it. Not to sounds very corny, but you just honestly have to just keep doing it. So like one of the things I've been trying to work on is being a bit more considerate and being a bit more thoughtful to the people in my life. So obviously that requires me thinking ahead. Okay, because now, for example, I'll get like a booking, 2 bookings a month. That means that 2 Saturdays maybe or 2 Friday nights I'm busy and I'm not going to see my friends. Okay, so then that means that then I need to also make some time to see my friends around that. My weekdays I tend to not really see people unless it's maybe like work drinks, because like you have to sometimes go to work drinks to keep the the social capital like working at work. But then outside of that, I tend to go home, go gym, and then my weekends are usually like the time I sort of navigate my friendship groups or navigate my peoples. When it comes to like business stuff, like any sort of business related work, I tend to always be thinking about it. So even for example, like at work, I'd have maybe like a documentary or something in the background or some sort of video in the background related to whatever I want to do outside of work, whilst also maybe sending emails or like going through NDAs or just making sure that things are making sense. So at least it's just sitting in the back of my mind and sort of like just marinating in a way. But for the most part, I think it's just doing it, because you can think about trying to do all these different things and then wanting to experience all these different experiences, but until you say, okay, cool, I'm doing this, until you say, yeah, I'm doing this and put money down for it, you put a date down for it, then it's not happening.
It's not.
One thing I do, for example, like, is just have my calendar. If me and you are meant to meet in 2 weeks, I'll make sure I put your name down on that day, so that I know that on that day, no matter what time things sort of happen, I'm meant to meet you. And then any time around, I can do anything else that's sort of necessary. Okay, cool. So it's really like eventually finding your flow, but being intentional about your commitments and stuff. I like that. Okay, so you'd be happy to know we're almost at the end. So I guess I wanted to ask, how do you keep learning and evolving in a fast-paced industry like yours in tech? I think so. I have different sort of outlets to sort of keep myself on top. Okay. I have like lots of news updates that come straight to my emails. Sometimes it's a bit annoying because I'm just looking at them like spam. However, when it comes to things like what's happening in America with obviously Trump, and then like also what's happening just generally around Europe, and also what's happening in Israel, because a lot of my clients are in Israel, I need to be in the know, because it's going to also affect how they decide to navigate spending money on external vendors, essentially. So that's one way I stay on top. Another way is just making sure that I keep watching and researching different videos in regards to tech, in regards to sort of the direction that companies are going in, the landscape of my competitors as well. Just because like my company's been around for like years, but we've recently been bought out by another company. So then now we also have access to other sort of industries.
Okay.
And because of all of that, I also need to know what my competitors are doing better or worse, so that when I am now in front of a customer that mentions them or has something to say about us, I can sort of pivot and navigate as well.
Yeah.
And also just because I work with a lot of different colleagues so my company works in a way where I deal with account managers, I deal with like sales specific specialists, and I also deal with like, I don't know, like just solution consultants.
Okay.
And because of all of their background,
Yeah.
I can basically just lean on them for information. So then whenever I sort of need to tap into someone for something or for some sort of advice or how to navigate a certain scenario, I just reach out to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So if someone who is listening today wants to enter into your field,
Yeah.
But feels like an outsider, what advice would you give them?
What advice would I give them? My field of sales in general, I'd say a lot of companies and a lot of sort of hiring managers, when looking at people that want to get into sales, they need to look at sort of the type of drive that they have.
Yeah.
What they're doing to show that they can sell, what they're doing to show that they're resilient. A lot of sales requires you to actually be in front of people that will not want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or will not have the time to talk to you. So how resilient are you? How do you behave when you get sort of rejected? How do you handle rejection? How do you sort of navigate a scenario where you need to persuade someone that's on the fence? Can you show that through your experience? Can you show that you're a go-getter? Can you show that you have the initiative to sort of go about finding out information, handling certain information?
Yeah.
Can you show you can go the extra mile just to sort of bring a client in to the company, or just get someone interested in what's going on currently at the company?
Right.
Like, how do you sort of do all these things? That's, I think, what's the best thing that's required for sales, because technically speaking, you don't need a degree to do sales. What you do need is just experience in handling people and being in front of people.
Yeah.
How you've done all of that can basically help you get into sales.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Hope that helps someone out there. And then earlier you talked about like impact a little bit.
Yeah.
So my question would be, what legacy or what impact do you hope to leave as a professional? And also, what legacy and impact do you hope to leave as a DJ?
As a professional, I think, so one thing I say at work is that I want my name to be in rooms that I'm not in. Just because, and for the right reasons, obviously. No, it's true, because like,
yeah, people out
rumors,
there.
Rumors be going around at work. But yeah, for the most part, I want my name to be in rooms that I'm not in.
Yeah.
Just because then, whenever you have champions, because you have champions in your workplace, people that will always root for you, people that will always be on your side, people that love the work you do. So then the further that happens, like the more that happens, the more it's going to have a better impact on the next steps I decide to take within a company. Even if I decide to leave the company, I don't know if 5 years down the line, the person I end up meeting up with may have been the CEO of my current company, or may have been a current colleague in my current company, or even maybe a client as well. So that's sort of my professional sort of impact that I want to sort of leave. Yeah. And outside of work, I want to be able to affect the environments which I enter.
Okay.
So one thing I like to do whenever I go out, for example, with my friends, is create an environment in which wherever they've come from, whatever's happened in and around them before they enter the room or before we all met up, they sort of leave. And then just sort of just enjoy that communal engagement. So that at least that way, then I know that for that period of time, whether it's 3 hours, 2 hours, an hour, 5 minutes, they've had a great time.
Yeah.
And then they leave in a better mood, for example. And then even if they have to now go back to face whatever they're facing, it's not from a position where like they're down or they're sad or they have like a better sort of direction for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of that's the impact I want to leave.
That's really
Yeah,
commendable. Oh, that's lovely.
thank
Okay,
you.
so final question. So from our conversation, obviously, it's quite pertinent that you seem successful. Or at least you're doing well.
Yeah,
You're on your
thank you.
way to
Yeah,
success. So
yeah,
then
thank
I
you.
guess I wanted to ask, how do you
Mhm.
define success for yourself? And has that definition changed over time?
Yeah. Um, I think my definition of success keeps changing every time I experience something new.
Mm,
So like when I started this role and then when I started sort of traveling like vigorously, I started to realize that like there's so much more to experience, there's so much more to see,
yeah,
that we haven't sort of been able to sort of just see growing up, for example.
yeah,
Like when I went snowboarding, my mind was blown. Like my mind was absolutely blown. And I think that's one experience which I feel like not a lot of black kids grow up doing
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
experiencing.
yeah.
And because obviously now I've taken myself out of the comfort zone of just going to a beach or just going to like another city.
Yeah,
I'm actually like up in the Alps with the snow, with the mountains. I think the view there actually lets you know that there's so much more to see, there's so much more to sort of experience in this world. So then that being said, like my perception of success is it's a bit more vast than just what's taking place in the office now
mm-hmm,
or what's
mm-hmm.
just taking place in my bank account.
Yeah,
It's more of like what can I experience? How can I sort of go about my business in a way where like I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm being restricted,
yeah,
or I can't do this because of this, or I can't do that because of that. I can just sort of go, oh, I want to go and do this tomorrow. Oh yeah, I can go and do that.
yeah,
And I don't have to worry about any sort of repercussions because it's just at my fingertips. So I think
mm,
that's how I sort of classify success for right now anyway.
yeah.
Because I mean, I'm young, single, working in London. Huh?
I said, ladies, he's single, papa.
No, but still, like generally speaking, for the time being,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's my version of success.
Okay, I
Yeah,
like that. So it's constantly evolving.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to,
Thank you for having me.
join me
Yeah.
today. I hope that honestly it was helpful to whoever is out there watching. If you found the video useful, please drop your comments. Please feel free to ask any questions in the comment section, and I'm sure that Prince will come and answer. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I will see y'all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.